Okay, so yeah, this article just went up on ESPN. I say just, I mean it went up a couple of hours ago, but the point is, you can see the title here as well. The future of competitive Dissidia Final Fantasy remains murky, and this is something I actually want to address as well, and kind of just give my thoughts on this because there's a lot I want to kind of discuss regarding this as well. So I'm going to kind of just jump straight into it. Already I apologise for the sniffing as well. It is starting to get hay fever season for me, but I want to, yeah, just kind of want to go address a couple of things regarding this. I'll also post a link to this article down below for all you Dissidia players out there as well. Maybe you want to give it a read. Even if you're not interested in Dissidia, you might want to give this a read as well. It might be quite interesting, especially if you're not especially if you usually play traditional fighting games and kind of want to see what the other side of the fighting game scene is currently doing. So, with the article already. Yeah, this was posted about 10 past 9 BST, so that was about what 5 hours ago. Yeah, so again, let's go over the title. The future of competitive Dissidia Final Fantasy remains murky. I'm going to skip the first couple of paragraphs. They basically outline the opening paragraph is pretty good. It kind of outlines an event that happened and how it was massive for Dissidia, and yet no one actually knew about it because the game doesn't really have much of a presence. The next following paragraphs then go over the players, how the game was initially created, and how the games have progressed since as well, and what the Final Fantasy community are doing at the moment, what people have done to mitigate any issues, what the scene has done, and then up until the release of Dissidia Arcade, and then also the release of Dissidia on the consoles. But my main point I want to focus on is this section here. You can see the header, new game, new challenges. So let's give this a read, and then afterwards I'll give my thoughts, because I do have a couple of points regarding this article I want to go over, and hopefully Square can kind of push the game in the way we want to. But let's get into it already. So, Wednesday Night Fights, a weekly fighting game series at the esports arena in Santa Ana, California, has started featuring NT, but logistically it's a difficult game to set up. It requires teams of 3, meaning 6 PlayStation 4s with a 7th PlayStation 4 to broadcast a stream, along with 6 gaming monitors and everything unlocked for each copy of the game. At the moment, there isn't a built-in LAN mode, meaning all PlayStation 4s must connect online to Square-Enix's servers, added for unneeded latency. And then to quote, I believe Dissidia NT can survive based purely alone on how plain fun it is to play once you get the matches going, said Osti. Osti is a frequent Dissidia streamer. He's one of the biggest, and unfortunately when I say one of the biggest, that means he probably gets about 15 viewers on Twitch, again, for reasons I'll go over shortly. But yeah, this is a pretty good person to get and someone's opinion on as well. So Osti, esports commentator and statistician. I think I said that wrong. He also goes on to say, if certain quality of life patches get implemented and an online circuit kicks off with Square support, I could see the game steadily growing over time. However, the game itself hasn't been a blowout success. In its third quarter earnings, Square Enix announced that Dissidia performed below expectations, and viewership on Twitch has been in the tens to hundreds. A new patch update introduced a spectator tool, but there are no plans to add LAN support for the game. However, after witnessing excitement from local competitions, NT director Takeo Kujiraoka, I said that wrong, and Square Enix seem to be interested in keeping the scene alive. And then for another quote, while we are unable to confirm anything at this time, we are in discussions with the goal to hold more events both physically and digitally, said Matt Kishimoto, senior product marketing manager at Square Enix America. Our ambition would be to have events not just in Southern California, but all over North America and South America. We want to make sure the game is as accessible to everyone as possible. As of now, Square Enix is tweeting out events and tournaments and offering small prizes to winners. The Final Fantasy Twitter account is also encouraging local scenes to organise their own tournaments. But Nolte, the person previously mentioned, who's also part of both the Super Smash Bros. And Dissidia communities, knows that a hardcore scene doesn't spring up overnight. He also goes on to say, it took Smash 10 years to start to establish itself as a huge scene, and that was entirely on grassroots, he said. We'll just have to wait and see on Dissidia. So at first, I actually thought this article was going to be a bit of a hyperbole. It was going to essentially be pooping all over Dissidia, saying it's a shit game. It's just going to be doing really badly. But actually, after reading this kind of core section of the article here, I actually agree with a lot of it. And there's a lot that I want to kind of address with a couple of points. So again, let's go back to the main title. The future of competitive Dissidia Final Fantasy remains murky. Now let's actually address this as well. Starting off with one of the best parts of the article here, and that is the setup. and how games are actually kind of made, competitions and tournaments are made. So this part here, really important. In order for you to host a Dissidia tournament, it requires a team of 3, meaning 6 PlayStation 4s with a 7th PlayStation 4 to broadcast the stream, along with 6 game monitors and everything unlocked for each copy of the game. And since there's no built-in LAN mode, all PlayStation 4s must be connected online to Square-Enix's servers, added for unneeded latency. So this is something that I'm actually looking to do myself. I really want to host a physical Dissidia event. I've only ever seen 2. I'm sure there may be a few more, but they're very, very minimal. I'm pretty sure there's less than 10 actual physical tournaments hosted because of the setup. And this article clearly outlines the issue with that as well. The first thing is it requires a team of 3. Again, you need 7 PlayStation 4s, one of them being the one to join the lobby and then spectate. And then that's how the commentators get their information. You need 6 monitors, 6 copies of the game, and also the time to unlock everything as well. And this is actually massive. This is such a ball ache, and I'm really surprised that I'm surprised but also not surprised that we're in the position that we're in with Dissidia at the moment. Like I said, I'm looking to host a physical Dissidia event. That's one of my big goals at the moment, is to get that going. I have actually hosted an online event which had pretty good turnout. I'm really happy with the turnout. Obviously there's a lot of things I need to improve on, but that's beside the point. Had a good turnout and a pretty decent viewership as well. I think I had just under 100 that were watching EGO at the time, which is quite cool. And I'm now looking to host weekly events and also monthly events as well. I'm just kind of in the process at the moment of setting the whole thing up. But to host tournaments for this game is a massive pain, and here's a couple of reasons why. Firstly, I watch a lot of team-based tournaments. I say occasionally watch a lot of team-based tournaments. I'm a big Gears of War player. I did actually watch Gears of War Pro Circuit last week. I do occasionally watch as well Rocket League and Overwatch. So I know how team-based tournaments can be run. I know how team-based tournaments can go, and I also know the level of support that companies can give to team-based tournaments overall. So there's honestly no excuse for Square to be saying they can't do this, because again, I watch Rocket League, which is a 3v3 football game. I watch Gears of War, which is a 5v5 shooter game, and I watch Overwatch, which is 8v8 shooter game as well. And they've all managed to find that perfect ground where competitive games can actually be held, and also give the informative commentary that we need, and also have the level of communication between company and player base and competitive player base for the game to actually go out there and make a name for itself, and also again have the backing support of the developers. But with Square Enix, we don't get that. The big point here is it requires a team of 3. This is something that's going to happen with the game. Again, Rocket League do this, but that has the backing of Psyonix. 6 PlayStation 4s is insane. There's no, 7 PlayStation 4s if you count spectator mode with a copy of its own game, but 6 PlayStation 4s just to get a local game going is not really. I can't think of the word. It's not really idealistic. You can't really go through that process without the monetary issues appearing. If you were to host, because this is a fighting game, if you were to host a fighting game for Street Fighter, you literally just need 2 PlayStations, and everyone brings their own tournaments, and you need two monitors as well, and that's pretty much it. Spectator mode, you can just hook up one of the PlayStations and you've already got your commentary there. You don't need a spectator PlayStation to watch a Street Fighter game. You literally just hook the PlayStation up that's doing the current event, and then you just commentate off that. But with Dissidia, you need a 7th PlayStation to commentate, which is a massive problem. But for Street Fighter, you can have one PlayStation as winner's bracket and second PlayStation as loser's bracket. For Dissidia, you need 6 PlayStations just for a winner's side and another 6 just for a loser's side. That's insane. That's completely absurd. There's no way we're going to be able to feasibly able to get that kind of thing going. And the monitors as well, that's also another problem that comes into it. And also if you're renting out a room as well, that also comes for the TOs to kind of host an event, which is another monetary issue to work on. Another problem as well, that I have actually got connections with local event tournament organisers, Electronic Gaming Opera, and while we do have 4 PlayStation 4s, we can get another 2, we can use mine and a friend's, we also don't quite have access to 6 monitors, and that's completely insane just to host a single event as well. Not to mention, because this game, the article does actually outline it here as well, since there is no LAN mode, there's no way for us to at least hook up all of the PlayStations to each other and have a seamless online game, a seamless local game that we can then spectate off that way. The problem that we have is that if you were to run this event, not only would you have to host out a room, 7 PlayStations, 6 monitors, you would then have to have all those PlayStations connect to an online Wi-Fi network and not have them lag in order for the game to at least be good. And this is assuming that you've got like entry fees for the event and or at least entry fees for the game as well. So Dissidia is in such a massive wall block in terms of money that there's no logistical way that we're going to be able to host physical events without there just being a massive loss for the TOs. And because Square Enix are not pushing the game that they should be, it's up for us on Discord and Reddit and Dissidia forums to host events ourselves and take money out of our own pocket, or at least maybe get like a fundraiser to host these events. Square Enix are the ones that should be pushing for it themselves. But like I said, if you look at other events like Tekken and Street Fighter and King of Fighters and Guilty Gear and that, all those events can easily be hosted by a couple of people because all you need is 2 PlayStations and 2 Xboxes and 2 monitors. That's literally all you need, and the setup itself is just, you know, like a laptop or a computer to spectate from. But with Dissidia we don't get that because it's so expensive, and Square Enix really need to get that kind of thing sorted out, because at the moment it's going to be stuck with this barrier of entry where we don't even have LAN available. It's actually insane. Speaking of Square support, that goes into my next point as well. Square Enix aren't supporting the game, and there's no one that can really deny that. They're just not supporting the game. I went to an event late last year for the Final Fantasy 30th. Final Fantasy Square Enix 30th Final Fantasy event. I've said that wrong, and it was the 30th anniversary of Final Fantasy, and they did have Dissidia there to play. But it didn't really seem like it was a massive presence. Fair enough, it was taking up most of the space and people could play it, but it didn't really have that much of an interest from a lot of the people there, because it is a fighting game at the end of the day, so the barrier of entry for some people is already there. If we look at what Square are promoting at the moment, Square are promoting 3 games and everything else. They're promoting Final Fantasy 15, they're promoting Final Fantasy 14, A Realm Reborn, with all of the updates, and they're promoting Final Fantasy Dissidia on the mobile, but not Dissidia on the console. They're also promoting Final Fantasy card game, which is a card game I actually play and have been since it came out. They're promoting all of their merchandise, and they're promoting everything else as well that's branded to Square Enix and their Final Fantasy thing. But Dissidia Final Fantasy NT on the console is not getting any support at all. If we look at one of the biggest key points about this that I can see is Dissidia doesn't really have any adverts either. I've seen 2 Final Fantasy adverts relating to Dissidia. There's the one with the people in the coffee shop where they're arguing with each other, saying who is the best Final Fantasy player. You've got the girl, she says Score, the other guy says Cloud, and then they all have a fight with each other. But then they fight each other on the mobile platform. They're playing Final Fantasy Dissidia on the mobile. The other Final Fantasy advert, Dissidia Final Fantasy advert I've seen is the Final Fantasy advert which shows Final Fantasy through the ages. It shows Final Fantasy on the NES, then the SNES, then the PlayStation, and then Final Fantasy on Xbox and PlayStation, with those games like 13. Then it shows Final Fantasy 15, and then it shows where we've currently gotten to, which is Final Fantasy 15 now on the mobile platform. It's showing Final Fantasy through the ages on the mobile platform, but it doesn't show Final Fantasy Dissidia on the console, which is actually the bigger game than the mobile platform. But Square just seem to want to be pushing the mobile game, which I get because it's a free-to-play game and it's, you know, the mobile market is huge, but they are not promoting Final Fantasy Dissidia on the console because it's not a mobile game that's easily accessible and anyone can download right now. And that's another big slap in the face of this game and all the player base, because we're the ones who are pushing the game, not Square. Like I said, there are these 2 adverts for 2 mobile games for Dissidia, but for the 2 adverts for the 1 mobile game, which is the Dissidia Mobile, not Dissidia on the console. There's no marketing behind it. We've had to kind of push the game ourselves with our tournaments. We've had to push the games ourselves with events and the discussions and the forums. We're the ones pushing the game out there, not Square. And as the article states, Square Enix have given a couple of tweets. I've seen them myself. The Final Fantasy Twitter account has also given out a couple of prizes, which again I've seen for myself. And again, I'm gonna get in contact with Square Enix soon for my own events and stuff to see if I can get anything to give out to the winners. But a couple of tweets and a couple of merchandise things, there isn't much. You know, that doesn't really give us much to go on. It doesn't push the game out there. I mean, I'm not saying it has to be a massive prize pool, but the article, what else does say is that if we were to have like a Square Enix circuit, that would be good. We would know what I think what the community needs is they need a solid foundation to say, I need to compete at this time on this day. Constantly, all the time, there's going to be a circuit, we've got something to watch, we've got Square Enix backing it, we've got big prizes, we've got the support, we've got the tweets, we've got Square Enix actually communicating between them and us, and we, like I said, we don't actually get that as well, and that's a massive problem. At the moment, it's just people on Discord, people like myself, people on forums and Reddit just saying, okay, cool, I'm going to talk to a couple of people, going to talk to the player base, I'm going to talk to the active players, I'm going to host an event, can you promote me, can you promote me? It's all of us promoting each other, but not Square Enix saying, here, you guys need to watch this. Instead, we get a random tweet saying, by the way, grand finals for the European NT League is out there as well. I want to make it clear as well, I do not represent all of the Dissidia NT player base or the Final Fantasy fans. I'm just someone who has been playing the game a lot. I've hosted my own events, I actively participate in the community, and this is kind of my perspective as well. But again, I do not represent every single person or any individual group or anything like that. It's solely my own opinion here. And speaking of the players, that goes into my next point. The problem with Final Fantasy as a competitive aspect is it has pretty much no real way to push us as competitive players. Now I want to go into this bit here, so let's look at this bit here. So if you want to get better at Dissidia, you've got no way of doing that in an easy way. You've got both ranked matches, which a lot of people can be put off by. There's a reason why casual matches exist on Street Fighter and Tekken. So you can just play casually, there's nothing at stake, you just want to jump on, play a couple of games without worrying about rank. This game only has a ranked mode, which is a huge problem because people don't want to do that. Some people just want to have, casual matches, and while you can host lobbies, sitting there waiting for a lobby rather than matching people up constantly like you do in ranked matches is not as convenient. If you want to practice, there is no such thing as a practice mode. Fair enough, you can pick which characters you want to play against, you can pick the difficulties, you can pick what character you're playing as, you can pick your loadout, but you can't have your traditional training mode, which you would find in something like Street Fighter or Tekken. Like, you can't, in Street Fighter and Tekken and Guilty Gear and stuff like that, you can have the opposing AI do a move that you can practice against. Say you get stuck against a Ryu that does nothing but chuck up projectiles, you can learn how to go against a projectile. You can you can block, you can jump, you can do a Tatsumaki through it. But with this, if you're getting beat by someone who's playing Cloud and all they do is Meteor Rain, you've got no way to practice against that. You've literally got to just, play against a stationary crowd. And I mean, even if you want to practice combos as well, I mean, you can get your combo setups, but it's nowhere near as convenient as it should be. Like, here we go, cool, combos. There you go, there's a lightning combo. But that's the kind of thing you have to learn yourself. The AI is not going to respond to that. You want to play against an AI that will respond. You want to have these training options that should be appearing, saying, have the opponent flip out immediately, have the opponent quick rise, have the opponent block, is this a true combo, is this a true block string, am I able to confirm a HP attack? There's none of that feedback on there. We also don't have the ability to see our inputs. The training mode is non-existent. There is no training mode. You have to essentially change it so that AI don't even move. That's about as far as it goes. If you're getting beat by someone throwing out Scintilla with Sephiroth, by someone using Meteor Rain with Clouds, you've got no way to learn that other than playing against the AI and hope they do it, or making a lobby, going against your, getting a teammate online and then saying, can you just quickly spam this and practice for me? We don't have a training mode, and there's no way that a competitive scene is ever going to get better than that if you don't let your players at least push themselves to get better. That's why training mode exists, and we don't get training mode in this one fighting game for some reason. Another thing I want to talk about as well is spectator mode. Spectator mode is a pain in the arse. Spectator mode, I'm glad they've added it, but it doesn't give us the information that we're looking for. As someone who has done plenty of commentary, it doesn't tell us how much bravery the person we're spectating has. It doesn't tell us how much the summon bar is increasing by when teams go for summons. There's so many core aspects of it missing that spectator mode is very, very lackluster at that. We also don't even have the ability to actually select an individual player. If you are to spectate someone, you actually have to you have to cycle through every single player that you're watching to get to the one you're on. So say you're spectating player number 3, you then have to cycle through 4, 5 in order to get to 6. That you have to flick through 3 times, and there's a high chance you're going to mess that up. You don't want to be doing that. You want to say, I want to spectate number 1, I'm going to press this button, that will take me to number 1. I want to spectate number 4, press this button, that will take me to number 4. It makes spectating mode so much more streamlined, and it's an idea I've got at the moment, and I want to push it to Square and see if they go through with it, because it's a way to make spectating mode so much better than it currently is. But for commentators, TO organisers, we have to cycle through all of our characters just to see what we're doing and who's spectating, and even then we can't see bravery points, we can't see their loadouts, we can't see how far the summon engages. They're such key aspects of spectating mode that to not have that is honestly baffling, and I'm surprised that no one at Square said, why is this not in here as a spectating mode? Like, it's honestly makes as a TO even more annoying to host an event, because all the information isn't there. That's a huge problem. My final point now as well is really just to kind of round up the whole thing. We're in 2018, we shouldn't really have to rely on grassroots events. I like the fact that there's a community and they're all pushing these events. Again, I can name a couple of people, but again, I don't want to put anyone out there who may not want to be represented in this video. But there are leagues, there are events, there are tournaments, there are weeklies, there are hourly I can literally load up the Discord chat now and see that there is a lobby happening at the moment. But it shouldn't be left up to us to push this this game. It should be down to Square. It's 2018. We don't need a grassroots event. Square should have been pushing this game to begin with. And even though this article here does actually list how Melee was one of those grassroots events, and I've seen that myself. I'm a Smash Bros player myself. I've seen Smash Bros neglected for many years and even looked down upon by the FGC as just this random party game. But because Melee had such a strong player base that they were since 2002, this game is 16 years old, since 2002 they were pushing the game at their local scene. They've been pushing online events via Dolphin, they've been pushing the game themselves so much that Nintendo finally took notice of them, the FGC finally took notice of them, and because of that, Smash Bros Melee is a main stage event at EVO. That game is 16 years old, that game came out at the same time as Marvel 2, it came out at the same time as Third Strike, and now 16 years on, it's a main stage with Street Fighter 5, with Tekken 7. How is that even possible? You want to know how? It's because the game was pushed by the community for such a long time, for such a strong player base and a backing, that Nintendo finally had to take notice of it. Nintendo is a perfect example of what not to do, to neglect your game for that long. We don't see Third Strike at events by Capcom anymore, because they've still got Street Fighter 5. They're pushing that. We don't see Tekken 4 at events because Tekken 7's out. Namco have supported their games ever since the first one. But why is Square not pushing Dissidia? They shouldn't. We don't want to see Square Enix end up like Nintendo, where they neglect this amazing core game they've got here, only to realise 10 years later, oh, we missed out on something huge. Us as players, we want to see this game pushed to its limits. We want to see the events at these events, at these tournaments, games at these events. We want to see the level of support that Square Enix is giving, that Nintendo is now giving to Melee, because of what the scene is, because of people on Reddit, on Discord, on the Dissidia dedicated forums, because of people like us pushing this game out. We should already be having these events from Square. It shouldn't be, oh, a month later, oh, maybe they did need a spectator mode. In a couple of months' time, maybe in a couple of years' time, oh, you guys did need a LAN mode. I don't know why Square are completely neglecting this game via the marketing, via our feedback, and just sending out random tweets for our own community-run grand finals to then say, this is what these guys want. We want this kind of thing now, and it should have been there to begin with, because at the moment, I honestly believe, and many other people believe, that this game has a lot of potential for it. That's why I'm making this video, because I love this game. This game here, I could be playing Dragon Ball FighterZ right now. This game could be so much more dead, with the fact that Street Fighter 5 in the month of January, Street Fighter 5 had an update. Even Brawlout had an update. Dragon Ball FighterZ had an update, and this game came out. And I would rather play this game because I like it that much. But because Square aren't giving me the support that I want, they're not giving the game the support it wants. That the game is honestly going to die. And that's not a hyperbole. It's going to be left to people like us for many, many years to host these events. But the problem is, because this is not on the same level as something like Melee, where, hey, you know what, I'm going to go on Facebook, I'm going to post an event, all I need is a single GameCube and a laptop to stream, I can invite loads of people down, we can all play inside of a room, we can host our event. It's not the same when you have to have 7 PlayStations and 6 monitors and all connected online to play an event. It's not going to be the same. The way this game doesn't have the level of support that something like an offline game like Melee does, or even Street Fighter does. You can host offline Street Fighter games. You can't logistically host an offline Dissidia event, and that's what Square is missing out on. they're not taking on this kind of feedback. They're slowly dishing out these bits, and they're ignoring what the actual player base want. And like I said, I don't represent the whole player base. I'm sure people like it the way it is, but I guarantee they're in the minority. We want to see this game progress. We want to see this game push further. We want to see this game become huge. We want to see I want to see this game at massive events like EVO, even as a side event. I want to see this game at CEO. I want to see this game have its own circuit league and stuff like that. But because Square don't communicate to us and instead send out the odd tweet to promote our own run events, and they didn't give it the marketing. They haven't made it easy for us to host events like this. Like they want this game to fail, and I can't be surprised when Square Enix say in stuff like this, where in its third quarter, Dissidia performed below expectations of viewership on Twitch. It has been between the tens to the hundreds. I guess that's because again Street Fighter came out and update came out, and so did Noctis for Tekken 7 like shortly, and Geese as well for Tekken. And then you've also got like I said, Dragon Ball FighterZ, which is a massive game, and the Marvel vs Capcom Infinite update. But at the same time, you're not supporting the game. Capcom are actively playing Street. You can go to Capcom Fighters now and you will find people playing it. You will find Bandai Namco still playing Tekken 7 or hosting events and stuff like that. But Square Enix do not host Dissidia events because they don't want. I don't know why, but they don't want to push this game. And this is why. And they're saying things like it performed below expectations because you never pushed it. It's up for people like myself on Reddit and Discord and the Dissidia forums to push the games, to push this game. We're making events like this. We're making the streams ourselves. I'm sitting here waiting to jump back online and play against, the online lobbies and stuff like that. But that's down to us. Square Enix need to be doing their part, and it seems that they're not. I know this might have come off a bit as a rant. I know there's a lot to take in. I know maybe I could have shortened this down a little bit, but I'm hoping that they push this game more and they've taken on some of the points. Again, this game is honestly amazing. There's so much potential for it here. I said this back when the game came out. I think this game is a mix between a 3v3 game like Rocket League and a fighting game like Marvel vs Capcom, where you've got 3 different characters on a fighting game like Marvel vs Capcom, or even Street Fighter. A 3v3 fighting game like Marvel, but with the competitive element and aspect that you'd find in a game like Rocket League. Like, it is there. It has got a foundation for it. And if we can see Rocket League progress, and we can see Marvel vs Capcom and Street Fighter and all them not progress, then there's no reason why we can't see a game like Dissidia progress as well. And it just comes down to Square pushing the game, but unfortunately they're not doing it, and honestly it's going to be a massive problem. And I'd like to go back to the title again of this article and reiterate the point that honestly I also think the future of competitive Dissidia Final Fantasy remains murky. Thanks.